So we're joined now on the line by Ryan Brown, a video games journalist with The Mirror. Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm cold and cold.
It is cold.
Excellent.
Just cold.
It is. What perfect weather to stay in and play video games.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's almost like we planned that.
I mean, in my book, all weather is perfect weather to stay indoors and play video games, but that's just me.
Or even go outdoors and play video games.
Yes.
It's actually really bad weather to play Pokemon Go.
That is true.
I have had very cold fingers this week.
But have you caught any... Are there ice Pokemon? Have you caught any ice Pokemon?
And no, I haven't, weirdly.
I suppose technically any water Pokemon is Sub-Zero temperatures is an ice Pokemon.
Probably.
Yeah. It's just a frozen solid Squirtle in your front garden.
But speaking of frozen solid Squirtles, Ryan, thanks for joining us on the show, and we'd love to ask you a bit more about kind of where gaming is, because, I mean, other than Pokemon Go, Catherine and I are a bit clueless when it comes to video games.
You two don't game, do you?
No.
Not really, no.
The Nintendo Switch has just been announced, which I know Kez is really excited about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really understand what it is, and Catherine hadn't heard of it before this morning.
Yeah, so can you explain what that is?
Yes, sure. So generally speaking, Nintendo are selling it as a hybrid console. So it acts as both a home console and a handheld console.
So this is kind of different for Nintendo, though, isn't it? For the last couple of iterations, they've had this real focus on it doesn't matter if the graphics are any good as long as it's a bit quirky. And, you know, they even named it after urinating, which is not the best.
We as in a group, yeah.
But the Nintendo Switch looks like it's got amazing graphics.
It does. However, I mean, that the trend there hasn't actually been changed, if I'm honest. The graphics will still not be up to par, so it won't be able to compete with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on that term. So they can't really market it as something that is better than those consoles in that area, because it just won't be. Nintendo now, I think they're not going to try directly competing with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, because it just won't work. So they have to try and market it as being something different, either something that people that aren't into those consoles will want, or something that will sit beside those consoles, or someone that already has them. So yeah, I think they know by now that they just aren't going to be able to compete in the standard market now.
So we're not going to see a new console from Microsoft or Sony this year?
Well, there will be the Xbox Scorpio. They're calling it Scorpio at the moment, but it'll probably be called Xbox One something. But that's just an upgrade of the Xbox One. It's not necessarily an entirely new console. It's just, you know, sort of like an iPhone 6 and iPhone 6S sort of thing. It's just going to be an upgrade of it. But
Right,
other
that makes
than
sense.
that, yeah, we'll just be Nintendo's new console.
So Nintendo are kind of out of sync with the rest of the gaming universe.
They always have been, though. They've always been an entirely difficult thing to predict, because the Wii happened, and the Wii was so different from what was out there at the time. When you look at the Wii and the PS3 and the 360, which all competed at the time,
The Wii was totally different.
Sales, it was totally different. After poor sales of the GameCube before it, no one really thought that it was going to be as big as it was, and also it was massive. It was a huge success. Of course, I would argue that the market that bought the Wii, that was in 2006, 2008, you know, between then, really. That market, that casual gaming market, I would argue now have smartphones. So they probably don't need to buy a new console now. They'd be fully happy with having a smartphone.
Well, some of the games that I've seen for the Switch so far, there's a Zelda game, so it's like a proper traditional RPG. There's a Sonic game, there's a Mario game, and they all look, whether it's platformer or RPG, they look very console-based games. They're not for the casual gamers in the same way that, you know, Wii Bowling or whatever was. And I was really, I don't know, there's something about the, you know, I was always a Sega nerd. I was a huge Sega fan, and there's something for me really jarring about seeing a new Sonic game coming to the Nintendo console as a flagship thing. I mean, I have a cupboard full of Sega machines. I was playing on my Master System the other night. I've got a Sega Saturn, and suddenly my new Nintendo console is going to have Sonic on it, and that's a bit weird.
Well, I mean, Sonic's been on Nintendo consoles for like 15 years now. It's been a while.
Ever since the Dreamcast collapsed, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube. I mean, it was a while back now. But that Sonic game will be on every console. It will be on Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One, and PC, probably around about the same time. The problem with Nintendo Switch games at the moment are there's not a lot of them. Even at launch, the Zelda game that's coming out, which looks absolutely fantastic and plays fantastically, is also on the Wii U. So it isn't actually exclusive to the Switch. And then you have Skylanders and Just Dance will be out as well on launch day. Again, both ports. Within the launch period, lots of ports, lots of games are already on other consoles. And then Mario won't be out until the end of the year. So there isn't a great deal of games, which is a concern. There is a game called 1-2 Switch coming out on launch day. That is more of a casual game. That is, it is almost like the Wii Sports of the Switch. It's little mini games that show you how the Switch works.
Oh,
but
good.
the problem there is it's not bundled in. You have to buy it for about £40, which seems a bit silly. If I think they should have bundled it in, but they haven't, and I don't see anyone buying it. I've played it, and it's fun for about 5 minutes. Like, it's the sort of thing you would show your family. This is how the Switch works. Come play this. But I don't know if anyone's going to buy it for like £40. Seems a bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, Wii bowling was kind of the extent of my skill set when it came to games on the Wii. So I don't know if I'd be convinced enough in my abilities to use the Switch to warrant spending 40 quid on the demo game, essentially.
And yet, every time I tried Wii bowling at my local bowling alley, they kicked me out.
Yeah,
I'm getting some very odd looks in the studio.
I'm just imagining the slippery lanes.
Oh dear.
I just don't want to read too much into that, otherwise I'll get disgusted. So let's talk about kind of other stuff that's happening in gaming. I know VR is a big thing, having games literally beamed onto your face. But why is that such a big deal? Why should I, someone who doesn't understand games, care about VR?
So VR is a complex one because you hear a lot about it. Because press are excited by it. Journalists see it and they know that it's the future of tech. The problem is that the public don't feel that way. Much of the public have either only briefly heard about VR, but aren't that bothered by it, or haven't heard about it whatsoever. As much as we think that VR is an absolutely humongous thing, because companies are working on it, the sales don't really reflect that currently. The sales are not good at all for VR. But that's not because the tech's bad. The tech is fantastic. The VR is fantastic. But I think it's just come too soon. The cost is too high. Even for the PlayStation VR, which is the cheapest one, that's still £350. And that you're going to have to buy that on top of the console if you don't have the console already. If you want an Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, if you don't have a decent gaming PC, you're looking at over $1,000, and like that's a really difficult thing to push on people that aren't already interested in that. So currently it is a niche. It is a niche market at the moment. Hopefully it picks up, but I think it's years away. I think it's years away until it becomes a big booming industry, if I'm honest.
I've tried VR twice in my life. Once was when I was very little, and there was this giant kind of virtual reality machine at, ironically, my local bowling centre. And I didn't wee on it, don't worry. But no, it was... I tried it out, and I was very small, and it was there were no real 3D graphics. It was just blocky shapes and whatever. We're going back a while. But then about a year ago, I tried the HTC Vive. And wow, it was incredible. I was just in this... there wasn't very much on there. There weren't many games at the time. There was just the Portal showcase kind of thing and a painting app. And that was quite fun, and I tried it. It was great. But then recently I've started playing Elite Dangerous on the PC, and I love Elite. It's a great game, but you can play that in VR. And I'm thinking that if I played that in VR, I would probably lose myself in that world entirely, because it would be amazing.
I mean...
But would you pay for it? But would you pay for VR for that?
See, I think the Vive is amazing, but I would not pay £1,000 to get a computer that could cope with it and then buy the Vive on top of it. If it was
I think that
£400, £500, I'd consider it. But
Yeah. I have used VR once or twice, and the HTC Vive is kind of like, I've used that and some Samsung thing at an event. And the HTC Vive was the only VR thing I've ever done that I've thought, okay, this is actually VR done to an extent that would be worth buying, because you can actually interact with the virtual world.
I mean, on the very cheap end, right, Google Cardboard that you can slide your smartphone into, and that's terrible.
It's fun because it costs a tenner.
But do you think these smartphone VR systems are worth anything?
Yes, yeah, I do. I think basically, as I say, like because it's the HTC Vive, really is the best VR headset at the moment, and it's that tech that everyone is impressed by. But I think us that are interested in tech, we get trapped in a little bubble and assume that everyone knows what we know, and the public simply don't know anything about VR. They haven't tried it. They don't really know about it. They don't care about it. And that's where the mobile VR comes in, because it's cheap and it's accessible. Everyone already has a phone. Nobody needs to buy a console for it. You don't need to buy an expensive PC. Everyone has a smartphone. And as you say, Google Cardboard is like £10. The Samsung Gear VR is like under £100 still. It's not great. It's not great tech-wise. It is just, it's basically just you using your head as a camera. It doesn't really have any depth to it whatsoever. But it's that will get people to recognize what VR is. The only issue there is you don't want to undersell them on it. But, that really is the step. As I say, I think it's just that it needs more time. I think in like 5 years, everyone will have a VR headset, because the tech now will be cheaper by then. But it's just too expensive. It's just too expensive to be popular.
So, all right, let's switch off of VR. What are the best games coming out this year?
It's quite a decent year for games, and that's just what we know so far. I think last year was a really good year, anyway. Just looking through a list. I mean, the first big game that comes out this year is in about 4 days, which is Resident Evil 7, and funnily enough, ties into VR. It's one of the biggest games that will work with the PlayStation VR, and it's a really good game. And it's odd to have a huge game come out in January, because obviously everyone usually wants to hit the Christmas period, but it is actually a legitimately decent game. So that would be hopefully big. I mean, if that does kick off that game and sells well, then maybe PlayStation VR might do a little bit better, which would be nice. Other than that, there's a new Halo Wars game. There's a game called Horizon Zero Dawn, which is coming out on PlayStation 4, which is basically you're fighting giant robot dinosaurs in the wild, which is awesome.
That is awesome. That just
and
that just needs to be my life. That's amazing. It's my new career.
But it's like this weird clash of sort of, you're like a hunter and an archer, and there's lots of nature, and then there is the robot dinosaurs wandering around. So it's like this nice clash, and it looks really good. It's like a role-playing sort of action role-playing game. It looks really good.
Nice.
So that's February, the end of February, I think. So that would be the next big game after Resident Evil, really. After that is March, so that's when Nintendo Switch comes out. No idea if it's going to be big or not, if I'm honest. I think we'll initially think it is, just because it's going to sell out on launch day and everyone go, oh, it's sold out, that must mean it's popular. But it won't necessarily. It just means that the stocks have run out. Because fans will always buy it at launch, and then we'll see if it's really successful depending on the sales throughout the year. But yeah, March, we have that. That's pretty good. And also the new Mass Effect game. I strangely haven't played them myself, but they're quite big. Everyone's looking forward to that big space sim sort of game. Then there is, in April, there's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch. So it's just like an update of Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U, really. It's pretty decent.
Cool.
I remember being terrible at Mario Kart.
Yep.
You're terrible at most games,
I love
Chris.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart
Yeah, I
is
love
amazing.
it. I'm terrible at it, but I
Yeah.
love playing it.
No, I like playing it.
I think
but
that's how a lot of people feel about it.
I would just end up going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like,
I do that thing.
How did I do that?
I do that thing where you like veer off the road, crash into a wall, then like reverse into a penguin.
Chris,
then...
that wasn't Mario Kart. That was you in my car at the zoo.
yeah. That
your
does...
flashbacks here.
That does explain the fine I received.
But no, I was playing Mario Kart on the SNES the other day, actually, and it's fundamentally hasn't changed too much.
Oh no, it really hasn't. No, yeah. I mean, the mechanics are still completely the same. Yeah.
It's a 20-year-old game.
Basically.
So
yeah, a lot of series do that though. They just sort of are updating the graphics and sort of how it works fundamentally, but gameplay-wise, it's still the same thing.
So what's the in your humble opinion, with everything going on over in America today, as we've talked about a little bit on the show, we're trying to get a positive spin away from Trump. That's another
It's another pound in the jar.
there we go. What would be your ultimate feel-good anti-Trump game?
It's another pound in the jar.
There we go. So any game, whether it's current or old, what would be the game that you think people should play to get over those Inauguration Day blues?
You should definitely play a Nintendo game, I think. I mean, they're colourful and in no way touch upon sort of the realism of the world. It's just little mushroom people and or in the case of Sonic, little robot people. And yeah, I mean, if you're feeling bad and you put on a Nintendo game, it's kind of difficult to stay feeling sad. That's how I feel. I'll come home. If I'm genuinely in a bad mood, I'll come home and I'll put on a Nintendo console because it's so colourful. How can you be sad looking at that?
It's true. It's very different to like Call of Duty. It's you've got Bowser and mushroom people and a green dinosaur that you can ride on the back of.
Yeah, absolutely. or even Minecraft. Even Minecraft. I think a lot of people hate on that just because it's popular. Even a lot of journalists just sort of feel a bit meh about it just because it's popular. But it is very calming. Like, to just sit and play that for a couple of hours is just so... It's like doing yoga for gamers.
It is. It is. It's
meditative.
It is very. And I used to play Minecraft to chill out all the time. I think maybe those journalists just haven't played much Minecraft.
Yeah.
They just don't get it.
My favourite thing about Minecraft is how if you really want to shut the world out, you can build a little box in the game and hide from the in-game world as well as hiding from the real world. If it gets doubly bad.
That's like the Russian doll approach to hiding.
Yep.
It's Inception. You're in a game, inside a game.
Yes.
So you could have your games console inside your pop-up apocalypse bunker.
Yes.
And then build your...
Yeah. And then
a little box.
Build a box and then build another box inside that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxception.
Boxception. That's what they should have called that.
Yeah. Minecraft, the boxceptioning.
Yes.
We're not very good at names here.
I feel like we've gone off on a bit of an odd tangent.
Slightly, yes.
The only other big game than that really is the sort of standard stuff like Call of Duty, comes out every year. There is a Red Dead game, new Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, really?
The Cowboys.
Yeah.
That finally comes out.
Pew-pewing with the Cowboys.
10 years since the last one.
Oh, wow. Now I feel old.
That will probably be the big game, to be fair. Like in the sort of autumn time, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. Anything that Rockstar put out, whether it be a new GTA game, is always huge. It's always absolutely massive. So that would be the big game, I imagine, of the year, that one. Who doesn't want to be a cowboy, to be honest? It's quite fun.
Oh, no, who doesn't want to be a cowboy? Who doesn't want to date a cowboy? I mean, all of those, it ticks all my boxes right there.
Yeah, I'd date a cowboy. I'd be a cowboy. Yep.
Yep, as long as I got to wear the hat, I don't matter what way around it is. So, last but not least then, we've talked about feel-good games, stuff that's coming out right now. But if you had one message to... there are a lot of people in the world that don't understand gaming and gamers and think that it's... yes. But you at least acknowledge that games are good, Chris. There are so many people in the world that think games are harmful as well. So there are lots of people that either don't get games, don't play them, or think they're bad. If you could say one thing to them, what would your impassioned plea to non-gamers be?
My plea would be that it is just an escape from reality. Even if it is a game that seems to be filled with violence, that's just sort of release for people. They're not sitting imagining themselves doing it. They're just sort of losing themselves into this fantasy in the same way that you would read a book or watch a movie about these things happening. You're never really thinking, yeah, I want to do that. It's just an escape from reality, and it de-stresses people. And that's just violent games. There are obviously much less violent games. Everyone nowadays plays on their mobile. Everyone plays little puzzle games on their phones or Pokemon Go. And if you saw the impact Pokemon Go had, that was a hugely positive impact that had on people. There were stories coming out about people with autism that had never really socialized with people before, that were going out of the house to go and catch Pokemon and talking to other people that were playing the game because of that game. It was a hugely impactful game. And as there are a lot of games, that's on a smaller scale, that's what games are to a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, they really do. I honestly believe that they do change people's lives for the better. There's my passionate appeal to people that don't play video games. I'm sure it will change minds.
So we ask all our guests when they come on the show to request a song. So would you like to introduce your request?
Yes, because of the Trumpy things and the
There's another pound in the jar.
I thought, but I thought we would have a happy thing, which is Move Your Feet by Junior Senior. You might remember this, might not,
Brilliant.
but it's very happy.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ryan, and spreading your gaming messages of positivity and what's going to be good this year.
Absolutely. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.